Hi, this is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and welcome. This is a place to come for tips, tools, and techniques for getting unstuck, staying unstuck, and getting your projects done at last. Creatives need to learn how to switch from one thing into another. Today I'm going to call that switching jumping. It's jumping from where we are now to where we want to be. Where we want to be is into our creative sessions. We're setting aside a certain amount of time each day, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and we want to be able to jump into that work session. Where we're jumping from is frequently a mindset or an energy set that is not quite what we're looking for when we go to our creative work session. We may be having the mindset of just finishing commuting or finishing a work day, or maybe being caught up in concerns of the day or worries. Some days we can make those transitions easily. We can get done with the commute and go right into our creative work session. No problem. We don't even think about it. We just step from one place to another. There are times that we hesitate. We can't imagine making the change, or we just don't know where the energy is going to come from or the mindset for it. There's all sorts of things that come to mind. And when we hesitate, all sorts of things can show up, especially excuses. Excuses will be logical reasons for not doing our creative work session that day. Sometimes it happens again the next day and the next day and the next day, and before long we had wanted a creative life, but days and weeks can pass by, and we're just not living the life that we want. Clearly, we need some tips, we need a technique, and a tool to help us make jumps, especially on the days that we hit resistance or distractions or other obstacles. I use and I teach other people how to use a quick, takes a couple minutes sequence of getting our head and our heart and our energy in the right place to make these jumps more often than not. To make this sort of jump, we need a few things. It's a list of things. Most of the stuff you've heard of before, maybe you've practiced before, but we're going to pull it all together. Here's the basic list of what you'll need. One is to visualize. Second one, a little bit of advanced prep, some self-reminders, simple movement. No, you won't have to learn to dance or yoga or anything like that. It's just moving. The next one is concentration, and I'm going to throw in here anything else that works for you to get going, to make the jump easier. Anything that works for you, use it. Of course, the sequence will take practice. Pulling all this together and working it will take practice. And the way to speed your capabilities through practicing would be to use this sequence every time, jumping from whatever you're doing, using it to jump into your creative work. But beyond that, to really supercharge this and to really get it down fast, use it elsewhere, because it's a universal sort of thing. It's a universal switching from one thing to another. So use it throughout the day for a variety of switches, and you'll get really good at this really fast. There are a few preliminaries you'll need to put in place before you use the works sequence each time that you're trying to jump into your work session. The first one is clearly establish where you're going to be doing your work session. It's not good enough to say, well, I'll be at home. Envision where you're going to be for that particular work session. The next preliminary to set up is to know when you're going to be working. And make that specific. Make it 7 p.m., make it 7 a.m. Set a target. If you have to move it, that's fine, but setting a target is very important for us to bring our concentration and bring us consciously, unconsciously, bringing that focus to showing up somewhere to work. We also need to set up a targeted amount of time. We need to be realistic about this. Most people can't jump into 2 hours or even an hour. It's best to set up a block of time you can always extend. For instance, a 10-minute block or a 15-minute block. If you get through the first one, pick another one. And if you get through that one, pick another one. In the beginning, it will feel like I've got to get through this. How am I going to be able to get through this amount of time? You can start off by setting a timer, and it's called the Pomodoro timer technique. I have a video at thestuckcreative.com, which is called the tomato timer, which is someone thought of setting a timer and saying to themselves, look, I just need to go as long as this timer is ticking away or is counting down or counting up, and when it hits the bell, then I'm free. I just need to make it through this block of time. We're at the last preliminary that you need before using the jump sequence. And this is where I can say bring in anything that you know that works for you to ease any resistance, any obstacles, to smooth the jump, the transition from where you're at to where you're going. We all have certain things. For some people, it's coffee. Other people, it's chocolate. Other people, it is music. I think of all the runners who will not run unless they have music going into their ears. So bring whatever it is. Bring your cat in. Bring in your dog. Let the television set be in the background. Burn some candles. Whatever it is, bring all of that and more as you discover it to help ease your jumping. The sequence starts with a self-reminder. It's not just a couple of words that we rush by, but taking a moment to acknowledge. And if we acknowledge this in our head, it will get to our heart, it will get to our unconscious, so it will help make it, those things will help make it possible. We need to acknowledge that we need to put aside for a while what we had been working on or what we'd been worried about, what we've been thinking about. We need to put that over to the side to make room for what's coming up. A powerful way to acknowledge this is to visualize ourselves doing something that we've done before, of putting something aside. Now, what comes to me is, for my example, what I use is in some bookstores want people to leave large packages, large bags that they're carrying over to the side or in a bin or in a special place before they enter the bookstore. That's what I use to visualize setting something aside. Done it before, I know it, it's clear in my mind how it's done, and I can reenact that in seconds through my head of knowing how to do that. And in the bag that I put over to the side is, I assume it to be, and I set it to be, where I'm coming from, the concerns, the worries, the ideas, the energy, the excitement of putting it over there in a safe place, and then entering the door is part of my jump. Entering the door going into the bookstore itself. Now I know at the end of this I can come back and grab my bag, that I don't lose anything, so it's easier for me to put these concerns over to the side because I know I'm not going to lose them. I'm just putting them over to the side for a little while, but I'll be back to grab them, to carry them with me later. What action, what experience have you had that is something along the lines of setting something aside? The best fit for you probably will be something you know well, something you've done, something you're comfortable with. So take a moment and establish a visualization, something that you know well, that becomes your shorthand for leaving something behind. In step 2 of the sequence, we're going to visualize again, but we're going to change the topic, we're going to change the theme. In this case, it's facing forward. Let me explain what that means. Another quick reminder to all levels of myself is to look forward, sort of square my shoulders, look forward, acknowledge I'm about to make a jump, and say I'm ready for it, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to persevere. It seems as though reminding ourselves in the beginning doesn't seem possible, doesn't seem significant, doesn't seem like it's going to work, it's more wishful thinking. But making this a habit and encoding this or putting this into our head, our unconscious, and our heart, over time, it has power. To better set it in my mind where I'm going to, I'm going to take a quick look at where I'm headed towards. If I'm in the space, if I'm in front of the tools that I use, if I'm in the place where I typically am going to be getting down to work, I just need to look around. I just need to look around, look at a favorite tool, look at some paints, look at something at the laptop, look at whatever. This is my stuff. That's where I'm headed next. It just take a second or two. If you're not in the space, or if the tools aren't there, then do fully visualize it as best as you can. Get it clear in your mind as if you are there. Now I'm ready for the jump. I'm jumping in right into the position where I'm working. I'm sitting down or standing up or whatever I do. I'm looking at my materials. I'm going to pick up something. I'm going to touch something. I'm going to get movement happening right from that point. Even if I don't know what the movement is going to be, I'm going to start moving. I'm going to do something. Movement begets other movement. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to ponder. I'm not going to compare. I'm just going to get my hands moving and get something happening. We need to keep our attention in the moment. Be here now sort of thing. Be here now keeps us out of the past. We've left our bag at the door, but we could end up thinking about the future. Is this going to pay off? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Are questions I think are unnecessary for working for the most part. Attend to what you're doing. Attend to your senses. Attend to the movement itself. Attend to how your tools are working. Attend to the sounds around you. Attend to your position, how you're holding yourself. Anything but attending to the past, which we've left at the door, or attending towards the future. To your surprise, maybe the timer went off, or you looked at the clock. You made it. You made the jump. You worked that targeted period of time, the targeted place, at the targeted hour, and you did it. You put in your daily work, and you have something to show for it. Let me say something about something to show for it. Accept what you have. What you have is far more than you would have done if you had just thought about working, or you didn't show up, or you didn't hang in there and work for your targeted time period, or you didn't show up at all. It was just more of a dream rather than an actual work goal. You have something to show for it. Appreciate what you've learned. Appreciate what you've done, knowing that there's much ahead of you, but truly appreciate yourself, what you've accomplished. Don't leave yet. Make a note to your future self. It's not for anybody else. It's to your future self. At some point, hopefully it's going to be tomorrow, you're going to be looking at something and say, hey, well, thanks a lot, past self. You left me some steps. I know where to pick up. The jump was easier because I knew this piece of paper was waiting for me. Some simple little notes of specific details of what I want to be doing next. Thank you. Again, you made the jump easier this time. Continue this rough planning out of what you're going to be doing at your next work session by putting down when is it going to happen again, where is it going to be, and anything else to make it very specific for you. And I would not only list it, but I would visualize it. And we're talking about just a couple seconds here and there to do both. Get a clear picture in your mind's eye of working again. Oops. Don't forget to grab your bag on the way out, or to take your stuff off the shelf, or get it out of a box or vault, or whatever your example, whatever your analogy was. I think it's important to see this as real, to see it as a real happening, that you put something away, you trusted you could grab it later, so here at the end, you're picking up the things that were important to you before you started your work session. I think it does something, it completes the circle. And I think it's a real thing for our unconscious to see that, first of all, when we drop off something, our unconscious could be telling, don't drop it off, you're going to forget such and such, you're going to lose the momentum of what you were working on previously or whatever. By playing this real, hanging on to this analogy and making it full circle, it tells the unconscious, don't worry, we'll pick it up. So therefore the unconscious will say, sure, okay, fine, I trust you, go ahead and set it aside. I think that these are real things that happen to us in our inner world. I admit it, when we start off using the sequence, it's going to feel as though we're forcing things or it's artificial or what's the big deal. But remember, we were having problems. We're having problems to quickly jump into our work session. Sticking with this sequence, practicing it, using it each time that you make a shift, whether it's in your creative life or elsewhere, will make it much more powerful, much stronger for you, and it will keep you unstuck. It will keep you flowing, and it will allow you to jump into probably the most important and rewarding times of your life, which is when you're doing your own creativity. Okay, that's it for today. To find more tips, tools, and techniques, go over to thestuckcreative.com, and you're going to see a growing library of videos and other materials. This is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and I will see you next time.